Today, I want to talk about yoga. Because yoga, one, is super popular these days and everybody's checking it out. But I want to talk about the psychology of yoga because there's a lot of good stuff in yoga that can help your mental health. So let's learn how. Hi, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and welcome back to another My Five Minds production. We're always learning this new psychology that I'm teaching you, this new psychology, which is really more of a new neurology. We're learning how the brain works. And we call this new psychology Systemology. That's systems with a P. And in Systemology, you're learning how to be better, do better, and feel better by learning how your brain works in a system. Today, specifically, I want to look at, like we talked about, yoga. But before we get started, I want to tell you the truth. And the truth is, I have never done a yoga class in my life. Never. So it's not like I'm a big yoga buff and I just love and am passionate about yoga. I see it, I understand it, and I think it's got some value. And so from that point of view, I definitely want to talk about it. And I also think that yoga, or kind of the Eastern philosophy around yoga, is more about psychology, or more about systems or systemology than traditional psychology is. So that's the other reason I'm really excited about it, is that I think it has some ideas that go along a lot with what I'm teaching you here on this channel as well. So let me just talk really general about yoga, and then we'll go through systemology and look at how systemology, or you can almost think of it as yoga psychology, how they match together. Now, yoga, whenever we say the word yoga, we always think of those funny poses people do. And that's a kind of yoga. It's called hatha yoga. And in hatha yoga, it's more athletic, it's more physical. And what yoga means is a path, a way. And so in hatha yoga, it's a path or way to find truth, to find yourself. And hatha means physical exercise or postures. And so what it's saying is, in what you think of as normal yoga, is here's a way you can find yourself. Here's a way you can find balance. Here's a way you can find a calming or peace within you by doing these poses, exercises, different activities, right? But there's other kinds of yoga. One of the yogas that I like is called prana yoga. And what I like about prana yoga is about breath and about energy. It's about finding your own inner truth by understanding and practicing breathing and controlling your energy. And I think that very much describes what systemology does. Now, in systemology, there are three considerations. And let's just play with these three considerations, kind of like yoga psychology. Because both words, as we just saw, mean the same thing. Yoga, finding your truth. Psychology, finding your truth. They both mean the same thing. They just come from different orientations, East and West. So in understanding yoga psychology, I want to propose three considerations. And these are the three considerations of systems. And I call them considerations because, in Western medicine, we are all about finding truth. And in Eastern medicine, it's all about what works, what's useful, what's helpful. And I like that approach so much better. Are there actual chakras, 7 chakras, that run through your body? I don't know. Is there any hard evidence that we can look to, point to, and see there's these 7 chakras? I don't think so. But is it useful? And that's what we're always thinking about. Is it useful to think about these chakras and begin to learn to control these chakras, to begin to understand yourself by understanding how these chakras work within you. Yeah, that's very useful. And people are benefiting from it all over the world and have been for centuries. And so in walking through yoga psychology, or what we call systems or systemology, I want you to have 3 considerations. Are they true? Are they useful? That's what I want you to think about. And that's why they're called considerations. Let me highlight the 3 considerations and then we'll break them down. Consideration number 1, you are not your psychology. You're not your past, you're not your problems, you're not your mistakes, you're not anything that's broken. That is not you. Consideration number 2, energy is everything. Energy drives everything, energy runs everything, and by understanding energy, you could understand truth and understand yourself. Number 3, everything is systems. Everything is made up of a system. It's made up, think of it like a recipe. A recipe runs how you bake things. And inside of you, how you feel, what you think, what you do are all made up of recipes that are happening within your brain. They're systems, they're patterns. And if you can understand these systems and patterns and change them, then you can change you. Those are the 3 core considerations in systems. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at each one of these considerations and let's play with them for a minute and see how systemology is really more like yoga psychology than it is about normal psychology. So let's go through these 3 considerations because I think they're really cool and really helpful. Consideration number 1, we just said, was you are not broken. You are not your psychology. You are not your past. You are not your problems. You are not your habits. You are not anything that is what you think of as negative. Now that is a super cool message, but it's also a super important message. Because if you identify with all of your problems and all your past and all of the things that you don't like, your anxiety, your depression, your emotions, what you're in essence doing is you're enabling yourself, you're preventing yourself from being able to change. Because changing something requires that you disconnect from it. If you identify with it, whatever it is, you're never going to be able to change it because it is you. And you can't stop being you because you are who you are. So now you're in a dilemma. Now you're in a struggle. But what if? This is consideration number 1. What if you are not your past? Do you have a past? Yes. Is it good or bad? I don't know. But you can't change the lessons you've learned from the past if you identify yourself as the past. But if you can see your past and go, yeah, I had a past, it was a bad past, it was a hard past, and I want to change the lessons I learned from those past experiences into new lessons, because those old lessons, they're not useful. They're not helping me. They got me stuck. The only way I can do that is by saying, I am not my past. I can learn from it. Their experience is there, but that's not what defines me. I define me. Now we can do the same thing with our emotions. We can do the same thing with our bad habits. We can do the same thing with all the annoying stuff that we want to change. In fact, we have to. The second part of that consideration is if you're not your past, your problems, your pain, your emotions, then what are you? Again, this is where systems matches better with yoga than it does with normal psychology. Because the normal psychology would say, yes, you are your emotions, and you got to change them somehow. But with systems, what we're saying is you're not. So what are you? Well, this is I think even a better message. You are perfect. You are what's called consciousness. You are the observer. Who you are is the person that watches and sees and experiences what's going on. But you are not those experiences. I have a hand. It's a nice hand, right? Nice fingers. If this hand was damaged in some way, would I be damaged? Would there be something damaged about me? No. I could lose that hand. Knock on wood, I hope I don't. And not lose myself. This hand makes up my body. And I can see this hand, and I can control this hand, and I can direct this hand. And I can observe this hand and all that it's doing. But the hand is a part, but it is not defining. It doesn't define who I am. Same with your emotions. Same with your past. Same with everything about you. You can see it. You can feel it. You can experience those things. But you are the person that sees. You are the person that experiences. You are the person that observes. You are not the thing that you observe. You are the observer. And that observer is perfect. There's nothing broken about your observer. There's nothing broken about your consciousness. We'll do another video on why that's true, but it is an awesome truth. All right, let's go to consideration number 2. Consideration number 2 was energy. Now, we're already learning this in physics. Energy makes up everything. Everything that happens, everything that is, looks solid, but it's not. It's an illusion. Everything is made of energy. Energy makes this desk. Energy makes me. Energy makes up the universe. And in fact, there's some new weird kind of energy that we don't even understand. We call it dark energy, dark matter. And that dark energy makes up like 70% to 90% of our known universe. Energy is everything. Now, this is different thinking than our normal psychology, because in normal traditional psychology, we look at things like thoughts as being everything, or behaviors as being everything. But what we're saying here in this kind of yoga psychology is that energy is everything. That we need to start to learn, to feel, to recognize, to regulate our energy, because our energy is what drives your thoughts. And again, neuroscience is beginning to discover this. Your emotions drive all of your thoughts, most of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. If you can't understand the energy that's driving your emotions, the energy that is your emotions, then you're going at it backwards. And that's kind of what we do. We go at it backwards. We're trying to find things to calm our emotions, thinking, exercise, medications, but we have it backwards. What we have to do is we have to understand the energy that creates our emotions, that is our emotions, and then understand how to play with that energy, maybe using thoughts, maybe using exercise, maybe even using medication. But it's our energy that's our primary focus. That's a key issue. And then 3, our third consideration was everything is made up of recipes. Everything is made up of patterns. Everything is made up of systems. For you to change, you have to understand how these patterns and systems work together. And that's really been the core idea that we've been talking about so far in systemology, is that these systems run everything. Now, in psychology, in our normal traditional psychology, we look at cognitive, we look at behavioral, we look at our creative brain, we look at our base brain. We look at these different elements and we see how they work. But in psychology, we don't have a system. We don't have a way of looking inside of you and seeing how they all work together and seeing them as a whole. What we tend to do is we tend to see them in parts. Right now, I'm going to work on some cognitive therapy. I'm going to do some mindfulness. Okay, I'm going to go over here and do some art therapy or some journal writing, or maybe listen to some music, write some music, whatever. I'm going to help calm my emotions by doing some relaxation. We look at these different pieces, but we don't see how these pieces all work together in a system, in a whole. And again, that's what happens with yoga. Yoga looks at these different energies, the chakra systems, and it looks at not only them individually, but it looks at how they integrate together as a whole. That's what we want to do. Anyway, my hope is that you are beginning to think in a new way. And so let me give you a homework assignment to take what we're learning and practice it. The homework assignment I want you to practice this week is, I want you to start with consideration number 1. Consideration number 1 is, what if I am not my problems? What if I see my problems, I feel my problems, I know my problems, but I am not my problems? What if who I am is separate from my problems? And whom I am is not broken, not disturbed, not a problem itself, but is here to help with these problems. So that's the consideration I want you to play with today. What if I am not my problems? Again, thank you for watching. I want you to go on to our website, and I want you to check out some of the other videos we have. Also, I want you to make comments. Comments are so important in getting your feedback and also in kind of helping drive the site as well. One more thing, if I could ask. I want you to ask questions. I love every once in a while to grab a question and answer it. So I want to hear from you. What kind of questions do you have about yourself or about what you learned today? Again, I'm Brett R. Williams, your favorite shrink, and thanks for watching. My 5